Hey guys, let's talk about tonight's episode of Scandal. And wow, now that is how you go out on the mid-season finale. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay, so we start off and Olivia is still in what looks like a state of shock. Her father has basically just blasted her at dinner. He's taken off. He's killed all of these secret agents that were outside the building. And he's off in the wind. So, of course, now the president and Jake are doing whatever they can to try to track him down. They even go to the hole. Now, here's the thing. I thought that President Fitz thought that her father had killed Maya, the mother. But they dig her out of the hole and they bring her in and they're questioning her as to where her father may be. So I guess he knew she was alive the whole time. I thought that he thought she was dead. Anyways, okay, fine, whatever. Maybe not. But she basically is trying to say, honey, you can't do anything to me because my daughter will put you on blast. And basically, Olivia says, you're being charged with murder, treason, and terrorism. Charge her and then basically lock her ass back up. And when you see my father, kill him. So right off the top, Olivia means business, and it just doesn't look like this episode is going to back down from that at all. So, of course, we still have the Colbys murder that is playing in this episode because now Olivia knows that Colbys and Lizzie Bear and the vice president are all in cahoots together. And now the president knows this. And Huck goes to his ex-wife's house asking about Javi. And of course, the ex-wife still doesn't even want anything to do with Huck. And that is just sort of like a repetitive piece that just keeps happening until finally at the end of the episode. Which I'll get to in a bit. But, maybe I'll just wrap it up now. Basically, Huck brings a bunch of boxes to the wife's house from B613, which Charlie stole from the locker storage. And so Huck, asks his ex to read the files. That way he will understand exactly why Huck acts the way he does. So I thought it was kind of good that we can sort of wrap this up and at least have the wife understand that Huck isn't, let's face it, Huck is crazy, but he isn't completely off of his rocker. Like the reason he is who he is now is because of what was done to him at B613. So fine, we'll close the loop on that storyline, hopefully. And then she might still want to keep her son away from him, rightfully so, but at least she'll have more understanding as to why Huck the way he is. So the other big thing that came out in this week's episode was Lizzie Bear's plan to expose Cyrus for having sex with a prostitute came out finally, and photos and everything came out. And of course, Cyrus is ashamed and he doesn't really want to fight this. He basically just wants it all to go away. He's embarrassed that he's humiliated the president and he's willing to resign as a result of it. The scene I thought was very interesting was the first scene that I liked was when Olivia went to him and Cyrus and the lover and basically said the only way that we can clear this all up is if you two get married. And we just sort of sweep it under the rug like, yeah, I may have hooked up with this guy, but we're really in love. And that's what this is all about. It wasn't just some romp, some raunchy sex going on between the two of them, even though it was. But hey, what they don't know won't hurt them. But of course, Cyrus is like, I ain't marrying this guy. He says, I was basically in the closet for 40 years. I only had sex with 2 men. One was the love of my life, which was James, and now he's dead. And now it's this guy, and I'm not going to basically have James feel like it was all... I guess he just feels like he's doing James a disservice if he marries this man, because it's all a fraud. So he walks out, and then we get this really great scene between Olivia and Cyrus, where she basically blasts him a new one and says, who are you? Are you the Cyrus being that's a bitch bear, or are you the Cyrus that I know who will take on all of these charges and basically stand up for yourself? And it's a really great scene between the two of them, because even though these two are kind of like frenemies, I still feel that they love each other and they will do anything at the end of the day to protect one another. And in fact, Lizzie Bear even called Olivia out on this at the beginning of the episode when she came to her and said, listen, I know that Cyrus is the one who had hacked my phone, and either you're really bad at your job or you're basically covering for him. And she's like, oh, you should be ashamed. Another woman basically not sticking up for another woman. And Olivia's just like, please hold the phone there, because you're basically screwing the vice president and you're in bed with murderers and all this stuff. So she basically kind of, without saying so, lets Lizzie Bear know that she's onto her, but, you know, she masks it under something else. So back to Cyrus now. He ends up doing this sit-down interview, which is all in, you know, rainbows and flowers here with his little prostitute lover, Michael. And they basically tell the world that they're going to get married, and that's what this is all about. So at first he was embarrassed, but now he's pleased that he's, you know, can tell everybody that how in love he is with Michael. We'll see. So, of course, Jake's life was in danger in this week's episode because Command has put out a kill list and Jake is on it. And so there's a scene where Jake is walking down this alleyway and a man comes out. Well, actually, Jake is asking about, he wants to get video footage of the night that Command left after the dinner with Olivia, so he can try to track and see where he went. And after he talks to the man, he goes to walk down this alleyway and a man comes out trying to kill him. And then, of course, Jake gets the jump on him and he shoots him, and then he searches his pockets, and then there's this, like a playing card with the king on it and Jake's face in the middle of it. So it's a kill card, and we all know that Command is tying up loose ends. So anybody who was part of Command is in deep danger. So, of course, Quinn finds this out, and so who does she go to? Charlie. And then, of course, it leads to these two having... Why is it every time that Quinn has to suck face with a dude on this show, it's so gross and creepy? So anyways, her and Charlie have this moment in the car, and they kiss, and then it leads to them basically hooking up, and his phone starts ringing, and of course I'm thinking, oh, it's probably Command. She reaches into into his pocket. She pulls out a card that has an ace on it, and it's got her face on it. So she realizes that Charlie came to her place to kill her, and the two of them end up getting into this huge fight, and it's... I don't want to say it's funny because nobody wants to see a girl get beat up, but they were both definitely fighting, and she had him in like this chokehold with her legs. It was kind of cool. And she's like punching him. She's like, you screwed me when after you. She's like, what did she say? She said something like, you know, you screwed me after you screwed me. Those two, they're like a perfect match. It's just, they're odd. And then afterwards, he was talking about his aunt or his mom or something. His aunt died or something. And it was just like, obviously these two had a relationship, and they didn't just have sex. They actually talked about people in their lives. So, you know, Quinn's all like, oh, really? Oh, you know, that's sad. And so it's like they're having this normal conversation, yet it's just so bizarro. But this is when Charlie explains to Quinn that he's the one who broke into the storage unit and stole all the B16 files, which we saw in last week's episode were all blank white pieces of paper that David then took to the authorities. So he is now the one who gave those boxes to Quinn to give to Huck. So that is how his ex-wife now has those files. And all I'm thinking is, this cannot be safe for the ex-wife to have these files, and I'm sure somebody's going to find out and want to kill her too now. Oh my God. Huck is the worst ex-husband, worst dad ever. Anyway, so we also had a great scene between Mellie and Lizzie Bear where, of course, we have this ongoing thread about Angola. And we all know that last week's episode, they tried to assassinate the vice president. But it turns out that he knew that the car was going to explode. And they're basically setting this up for it to seem like it's Angola because they want them to go to war with Angola. And the vice president is in on this hoax, or not hoax, but he's in on this whole plot to try to start a war between Angola and the United States. Why? We're not quite sure, but that is the play here. And we also find out that Colbys and what was, I believe it was that Winslow worked for a company called Waco, and they have something to do with this war that could potentially happen with Angola. Okay? So, of course, we always have our Jake and Olivia scenes. And, you know, we had a couple of son moments, which, guys, I can do without. But we had a couple of those moments. And there was this one scene where Jake goes to her office and he gives her a gun. And she's like, I know how to use a gun, but I just don't want to use a gun. And in my whole life of doing this job, I've never had to use a gun. And it's a really, you know, sweet scene between the two of them, because he's basically trying to teach her once again how to protect herself. And she's like, my dad's not going to try to kill me, please. And he's like, you just don't know. So, of course, we think that Jake gets the jump on command, and he goes to this condo building, but it's empty. Where really command is at Olivia's house, because he just makes his way into anybody's home whenever he feels like it. So he's sitting down at her dinner table, and he's looking at records, and he's going on about this record, this Stevie Wonder record that, you know, she has in her collection, and he's waxing on about all the things he's done for her. And, you know, even though, you know, you're mad at people, you still don't want to let them go out of your life. And then, of course, Olivia gives her 2 cents, where she's like, you were never going to leave because you're just like a stalker. You just want to come in. You just want to, you know, stalk people that don't want anything to do with you. And basically, she's just telling her dad that he's this pathetic old man, and that he is just going to continue doing what he does, and she's just over it. And he freaks out, and he was like, you are basically so ungrateful because I've given you everything that you have right now. And he puts, oh, here's the other thing. He asks her to come sit down, and he pulls out a gun. Real good talk, Dad. So she goes and sits down. So when he gets up, he puts the gun down on the table, and she keeps eyeing the gun. And you're just kind of like, Olivia, what are you going to do? So, you know, he's going on, and he's basically threatening her, talking about her clan boys and all the things that she thinks she's doing when she really has no clue what she's doing. And all the things that he has done has been to protect her. And she will realize this one day. And then she finally grabs the gun and she points it at her dad. And I was like, oh no, this is not good. And he's basically giving her that look that all dads give their daughters or kids. And it was like, are you crazy? So he just says, Olivia, watch yourself. And you're like, yeah, Olivia, watch yourself. Because do you really think, in my mind, I was like, it's just not going to turn out the way that you think it's going to turn out. So she's pointing the gun at him, and she's kind of trembling, and her fingers waffling on the trigger. And she pulls the trigger, and he screams, rightfully so, but he screams, and he's like, you just killed me. You just killed your father. You killed me. And it's kind of heartbreaking because, yes, he's this horrible, horrible man, but it's like, he's your dad. And you just pulled the trigger on your dad. And it didn't work. So it's just all kinds of bad news for Olivia. And he once again just like goes over to her stack of records, and he talks about this Stevie Wonder's record that he played once for her, and she was out in 10 minutes. And then he basically says, you're going to miss me when I'm gone. And he puts his jacket on and he walks out. And you're just like, oh man, Olivia, what have you done? So she once again goes to see her mother, and she tries to, you know, put on her bravest self. And her mother is basically like, honey, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. And she's like, you and your father are just exactly the same. All you do is talk about him, and all he does is talk about you. And she's like, boo, you need to see where I am. And she's like, you're going to come visit me tomorrow? And she's just basically jabbing at Olivia. And Olivia's standing there and she starts to cry. And she's like, honey, save your tears because they're not working on me. Do you realize where I am? I've been locked up in a hole for 20 years and I'm about to be locked up for another 20. So dry your eye. What can Olivia do? She leaves. Oh my God. Her family is so dysfunctional. So dysfunctional. Wow. So, of course, you know, we have a victory with Cyrus because he decides not to resign, and Fitz goes to see him and he's like, I need your advice on Angola. So this is still something that, you know, they're discussing throughout this episode, and he decides he's not going to go to war. So him, Red, and Cyrus have a toast in their office. Olivia kind of is about to walk in and she sees that they're having this good moment and she decides to leave it alone. So she goes home, and of course now Jake is there, or Jake shows up and he's all like, you're happy, and she's like, yeah, come on in. And she's been going through her records, so she puts on the Stevie Wonder track and then she starts dancing. She's like, come dance with me and blah 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 blah. And of course Jake starts dancing with her, which I thought was absolutely adorable. So the two of them are dancing around the house and he's doing this little jig and she's shimming all over the place and she's got her arms up and I was just like, oh my God, please don't get shot in the back. Oh my God, please. Like the whole time I was like on my couch like, is he? Because I'm thinking there's gonna be a bullet that comes through the glass and somebody's going to get killed or somebody's going to get shot. And I was just like, this is not going to end well. So, of course, they're dancing. And here it is. The moment that we've been predicting for quite some time now. It's the 90210 moment when Olivia chooses herself. She's not choosing Fitz. She even says, so they're in the moment, they're dancing. And then, of course, Jake takes a step back and he looks at her and he's like, I'm so in love with you. And she doesn't say anything. And then she goes, I want Vermont with Fitz. And then she says, I want the sun with you. And she's like, I'm not choosing, I'm choosing me. I'm choosing Olivia and I choose to dance. So if you don't want to dance, get off my dance floor. And she's like, because I'm dancing. So she starts dancing again and he just goes over and he kisses her. And it's like, okay. So they start kissing and she's like, I've never done it on my piano before. And I'm like, holla. So he goes into the bedroom to go get some pillows and a blanket. And as soon as he leaves the room, I'm thinking, oh my God, something's going to happen in the bedroom. And then as he's coming down the hall, I'm like, oh my God, something's going to happen. He's going to get shot. And then she's gone. The wine glass is spilt on the couch. The door's wide open. And while this is all going on, the vice president is having a chat with Fitz. And he's telling him, you know, I was disappointed that you decided not to go to war with Angola. He's like, I would think that somebody trying to kill me would warrant, you know, a little bit of retaliation. And of course, while this is all going on, Quinn is realizing how all these pieces to the puzzle are fitting together. And the only piece that she can't figure out is what Olivia has to do with all of this. So as the vice president is talking to the president, he basically says, what is the one thing that you can't live without? What is the one thing that you would kill for, that you would do anything for? So obviously we know that Olivia is in danger. You in danger, girl. So when Jake comes back into the room, Olivia is gone. Fitz is holding the vice president by his throat, basically saying, what have you done? And of course we get the scandal title card. Yeah. Now, one thing I forgot to mention was the awesome scene between Mellie and Lizzie Bear. Because Lizzie Bear comes stomping into her office as if the two of them are on the same page. And of course, Mellie knows that the vice president is shacking up with Lizzie Bear because Olivia told everybody. And she was in the Oval Office when that secret was revealed. So Mellie, in her perfect self, basically says, oh, honey, don't think you and I are on the same page just because we're both screwing the vice president. Lizzie Bear's all like, what? What are you talking about? And Mellie is just like, listen, I know that he's very pleasurable in the bed, but trust me, she's like, he is not a fighter, and you don't want to go to war with me because I will destroy you. She's like, I will cause you pain. And it was a great scene because Mellie, once again, got screwed, but is also letting Lizzie better know that she will screw her if she doesn't get in line. Perfect. So yes, guys, there you go. Oh, could I forget this scene? I mean, it wasn't major, but it was a little heartbreaking for David Rosen because he's doing all this interrogation now because of all the stuff that came up with Cyrus. And in his interrogation of Red, why am I always blanking on her name? It drives me crazy because I'm always forgetting. So I'm just going to call her Red. So on his interrogation of Red, he's asking her all about her whereabouts and if she knew this and all that. And she's like, where were you the night when Cyrus did all this stuff? And she's like, well, I was off with Leo. And this is how David Rosen finds out that she has moved on. So yeah, it was kind of hard. Oh, Abby. Oh, sorry, Abby. I am really enjoying you this season. I don't know why I keep forgetting your name. But this is how David Rosen finds out that Abby is shacking up with Leo Bergen. Is that how you say his last name? Yeah. So that happened. All right, guys. What can I say about Joe Morton? He's just awesome. I mean, I know sometimes his speeches and his can be a little heavy-handed and, you know, we get a good one every week. But seriously, this man needs a second Emmy because he just killed it. And that scene when Olivia fake shot her father, and his scream, wow. Yeah. So I don't know, guys. I don't know where we end up when this season comes back all the way January 29th. Hello. Good Lord, what am I going to do? Where are they going to pick up from? Like, are we going to be the next day? Is this going to be, I have no idea what they're planning on doing. But what I do know is I cannot wait to find out. I really did enjoy this episode. The music in this episode was also pretty damn good. So yeah. Good episode. All right, guys, let me know what you thought. Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe. And I'll see you, I guess, January 29th when Scandal returns. All right, guys, that's it for me. I'll see you later. Bye.